Something I've noticed about shy kids and screens is at first it's not very noticeable, but it gets worse and worse over time. And eventually it becomes so bad that you don't really have any more leverage to be able to change things. I know this because I was that kid and I was trying to hide from school. I was trying to hide from the things that were tough. Your kid is in a window, especially when they're around 8 to 14 years old, where you have an influence over them. You can help them improve their confidence to get used to the real world and honestly start taking the steps to figure out what they actually want. Because a lot of times your kid will hide things from you. They won't tell you what's going on because they just want to be doing their own thing. And for that reason, you are completely in the dark. You don't know what's going on. They're not sharing their story. And the hardest part is when they get older and they're 18 years old, they are so deep in games and video games that your influence is almost zero. What happens is this: when a kid is going through problems in school and they're either getting bullied or something is not going right, or they're trying in school and they're not being able to succeed, a lot of times kids in those moments just stop trying. They start saying, I don't care about school. I don't care about what's going on. I just want to be in this world where I feel like I have value. But the issue with that is it becomes the escape every single time. I didn't want to deal with people or friends or making new friends. Or sometimes you have online friends and it seems like, oh, they have friends. But a lot of times those online friends don't really help their social skills at all. They don't grow at all. And for this reason, school suffers. They start not being able to finish their tasks on time. Their grades start slipping. And over time, nothing else matters. For this reason, it's so important to push them to do things, to push them to go out of their comfort zone, to ask them, especially when they're young, is what do you want your life to look like? I am not saying doing long-term goals. Kids just want to have fun, right? But thinking about what's a sport that would sound fun that you want to practice at and get better at? What's something that would make you happy? Because a lot of times these kids just want independence. They want to feel like they control their surroundings. They want to feel like they can handle school. And over time, the situation is only going to get worse because they start believing these limiting beliefs. And it gets worse since they're not doing anything to improve. They're watching YouTube, they're playing games, they're not working on the skills. And when you don't work on those skills, the gaps between other kids and them is so wide in the future that it doesn't even matter at a certain point. That the kid just thinks, why should I even try? Especially when kids are so much farther ahead of me. And that's the thing, is a kid's identity is so important to what they're doing. If a kid has an identity that they can't do good in school, that they're not worth it, that their confidence is horrible, it's going to affect almost everything in their life. Their confidence, their friends, their grades, their almost everything. Because I know so many parents that I talk to that say, we've been doing this for him and he's so stuck in his games, he doesn't want to change, he doesn't see an issue. And that happens when they're 18, 22 years old and they're so dead set in their ways that anything that you say as a parent is not going to influence them at that point. And that's the scary part, is when it doesn't matter what you say, your influence is almost gone completely. And that's why it's so important to realize, how does your child's brain work? What is going on at school? How are they feeling about things? Are friends treating them correctly or not? I was bullied for years and I didn't say anything to anyone because I just thought that it was normal. I thought that the friends around me were treating me the right way. In fact, they were not treating me right. And I didn't know that because no one really told me what's boundaries and how should your friends treat you or not. And I thought it was normal. And that really screwed up my self-confidence as a kid. I was so shy. I never talked to anybody. I never went up to meet anyone. It's funny because like my parents are extroverts themselves and they're like, why are you so shy? Why are you so quiet? And I never knew. I thought this was me. I thought this was how I am. But in truth, it was because of my experiences in school, the teachers that put me down, the friends that put me down, the people that I thought were my friends that hurt my self-esteem, especially when my self-esteem was already hurt. And the drastic part of this all is a kid's potential is right in the beginning, right when they are learning the skills for them to be able to succeed in life. They need to be able to have planning skills, goal setting skills, and do all the skills that are so important for them to be able to succeed, to pick the school of their dreams, to pick a career. Because if your kid was able to focus in on something that they really cared about by the time they're 14 or 15 or earlier than that, they could do almost anything in their life. And the moment that you make it so that the real world gives them that progress, gives them that feeling of confidence, is the moment that they realize that the real world is amazing. And it's the difference between a kid that's withdrawn, that doesn't go outside, that has no skills, and a kid who is talking to a bunch of groups, that has a self-confidence, that doesn't care what people are thinking. Because today with social media, there's so much comparison. Kids feel horrible about themselves. And I was the same. I felt horrible about myself. I'm 25 now, and when I was 16 or 15, I would see these kids and I would be like, oh man, I wish I had that. I wish I was popular like that. Never realizing that the gap between both of those things was a skill issue. And I thought that it was just not in my cards. I thought that was not something that was for me. But kids can't believe that, because once they believe that, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It keeps on happening over and over and over again. And their identity gets worse, because a child's identity is everything. You have to build it up. You have to help them take those small steps. And that starts with first understanding what they really want. What do they care about? What would make their lives better? What would they want to get? What would make them happier? How do you feel at school? What happens at school? Is there anything about school that you would like to be able to improve? And really finding where that motivator is, and allow them to build the little reps that they need to build up those skills, to either be good at math, to make sure to limit their self-talk so they're not being negative about their skills and saying I'm bad at math, I'm bad at this, because the moment that they start doing that is the moment that they start going to their screens, because the screens give them no rejection. The screens are so easy nowadays because these companies want to keep you on their platforms for as long as they possibly can. And if you as a parent is not able to help them get out of that situation, they're going to be stuck, and it's going to be super difficult to be able to get them out. Because I know it. I was for 15, 20 years, I didn't take any reps, and I barely had social skills, and I didn't know what was wrong. Because this comes to another issue, is that when you don't have those social skills, when you do try to go talk to people, people think you're weird because you are kind of awkward. I had so many times kids would say, oh, you're pretty awkward. And I was like, oh, well, that doesn't feel really nice. That happens. And then those words, they stick. Unless your child has the confidence to be able to just let it bounce off and say, I don't care what you think. And confidence was easier in the past when there was no screens. Now, there's screens now. So they don't have to deal with the rejection. They can just go on their phone and feel great again. And that is the core issue. How do you help your kid get to the stage where they can face life with a smile? They actually want to practice in sports. They actually want to keep working towards their dreams. That happens when you push them just a little bit, especially when you have influence, and you keep on doing it until they realize they can do whatever the heck they want in this world. And that is when, doesn't matter the bullies, doesn't matter the people, as long as they have that in life, they'll stand proud and they'll get the stuff done. I hope you enjoyed this video and you found something insightful. I'm doing free coaching. If you're interested, the link's down below. Thank you so much for watching.